So learning is a very important concept, and in this world, it's one of the biggest skills that will enable you to be ready for the future. And it's not just about learning how to learn, because at the end of the day, it's very important to learn how to learn. And in fact, there's a book that has been written about learning how to learn. And at the same time, Coursera also offers us a course, a full course on learning how to learn, because learning is an important aspect. And importantly, the message I wanted to land is about knowing yourself. It's about knowing what type of a learner you are, because there's very many different types of learners. Think of yourself as you could be a visual learner. You learn from what you see. You could be a learner who learns by doing things. You could be a learner who learns through audiobooks, or even talks that you hear. Then that's when you learn. You could be a stress learner. When you know tomorrow is the deadline the exam is tomorrow. And you basically start studying today. Then that's when you get most of the information inside you. You could be an easy learner. You could be the kind of person who, during your free time, you like to take out a book. You like to watch videos and learn more about yourself. Or you could be a scribble learner, the kind of learner who learns when you write out things. Alternatively, you could also be a teacher. You could be, as you're teaching people, then you're also learning. And lastly, you could be a learner who learns from copying. And knowing yourself is very important. I can tell you for free that for me, one of the things that I really learned quite early is that I wasn't the kind of learner who learned from books. So I can quickly get, to the space where I told myself, if based on everything that people say, it's important for you to read a book a day, a book a week, whatever kind of messaging you can hear from different people. For me, I told myself, I'm not going to try and follow what people are saying. I will make it for myself based on the type of learner that I am. So I quickly discovered that I'm a visual learner and I'm an audio learner. So what I did is I do a lot of videos, and every day I do about 30 minutes to an hour of learning videos, whether it's YouTube, whether it's TED Talks, whether it's online courses on things like degree, LinkedIn Learning, or other places like Coursera. I just basically make sure that because I understand myself, I can be able to make the best for myself by making sure that the learning opportunities that I'm making for myself are based on how I learn. So quickly, just in the next minute or so, if you can just have different people type out what type of a learner you think you are. So I've seen the first person type that they're a visual and kinesthetic learner. Somebody else has written they're a visual and scribble learner. So keep them coming. So we can just see the different types of learners and whether we all know what type of learner we are. Oh, sorry. So there's a visual and stress learner as well in the team. Okay, we're also seeing another scribble learner, somebody who learns when they write out things. Somebody else is a visual and scribble learner. So we can already see that there's very many different types of learners, and I'm happy that you've already identified what type of a learner you are, and you're taking that to your advantage to basically achieve your learning goals for your own self. And a good question you could ask yourself is, why are we talking about learning? You could say, I'm not convinced about learning. So let's talk about a very important concept that's called relearning. So when the phone was originally invented, the phone was had just basically one role, and that role was to make sure that you could communicate to the person on the other end of the line. So imagine if I wanted to talk to Brian, then I would pick up a phone, I would dial a number that indicates that's where I can reach Brian, and that's the only role that a phone played. But then, because of the advancement in technology, a phone became more than that. It became a calculator, and it had basic games like Snake. And then look at where we are today in terms of what phones are today. And the same gadget that was invented many, many years ago and had one function now carries a lot more functions. You don't need to carry around a map. You don't need to carry around an encyclopedia. You don't need to go to the stock exchange or buy a newspaper for you to find out, how stocks are trending. You don't need to buy a newspaper for you to see the news. One app basically has everything in it. So think about it this way. if you were the consumer who's stuck at the point where you only knew a phone could basically take phone calls and that's all it could do. If you're stuck at that point and you refuse to move to the point that we are today, where phones are a lot more than that and can provide a lot more purpose in your life, where would you be? You'd of course be very obsolete, and that's why learning is very important. So learning is not just about, I've learned today, I'm happy with everything I've learned, I've finished my degree, I'm done, so I don't need to learn anymore. You need to understand the importance of relearning. So the skills will change. There'll be new skills that are coming up every time, and that's why it's important for us to keep learning. So how do you basically make sure that you become an active learner? And here are a few tips for you to become an active learner. So first thing is you could reflect in writing. So what happens is, you use quick writes, as you mentioned, there's some people who are scribble learners. You could also learn through solving things. When you have a problem, you brainstorm solutions and you learn from that, basically trying to find out the different scenarios. Another way is that you could be an active learner by teaching. So for example, when I am doing this session, I am also learning, because some of the questions that you pose at the end of the session, or even feedback that you give, also enables me to learn. You could learn by feeling things. You could feel the intensity and the curiosity that comes for you, and it enables you to be able to stick for what you're learning to stick in your long-term memory. You could learn by developing questions, generating questions for yourself. You could sketch out concepts, draw out simple things that relate to the different things you're trying to learn. You could compare notes with a peer, a friend, a mentor, a coach. At the same time, that also enables you to learn. So the point I'm trying to make here is there's many ways for you to become an active learner. And what's most important is, once you do start to know yourself, what type of a learner you are, then create the right environment and create the right way for you to learn. I can tell you for free, for myself, as I mentioned, I watch a lot of videos. What I do is every day I sit down and I think about, okay, so from that video that I've watched, what are the 2 or 3 main points that I want to take out of it? So I don't transcribe the whole video and basically have 10 pages, of everything that was said in the video. But I just write down what are the key points. And every time I surprise myself, because every time I go back to the notebook where I wrote that, I always surprise myself because I learn, and it kind of also, I relearn what I had learned before. Basically, when I go back to it and I read, I'm like, oh, wow, this is a good point that I need to remember for tomorrow when I'm doing my kind of thing. So just that's an example of how to be an active learner.